There we go.
Everyone is welcome here, it's time to make new friends. Fill your Glencairn. Share a dram with the Spirit of Edmonton. Luncha!
Welcome. Good day, Whiskey Brothers, Whiskey Sisters. Welcome to the Canadian Whisky Journey. We, all of us, are honored to have you, the viewer, in our panel with us today. My name's Dolph. I'm the founder of the Canadian Whisky Journey, your host tonight. And for those of you that are a little bit new to us, I'll explain a wee bit what we're about. We're a group of whiskey geeks. That's what we're about. That love to share a dram, and this was the perfect way to do that.
Everyone is welcome here. It's time to...
All right, we're getting into that. But why Canadian Whisky Journey? So you can hear my logo screen. Canada's got tons of history, tons of whiskey. We're doing a Canadian Whisky Journey, just like the Whiskey Bourbon Trail. That's what we're doing. And we're happy to do it. And tonight, we're at the last Straw Distillery, which represents the 18th distillery or Canadian distillery that we visited over the past just over a year. And Joss Happy, he's having wave there. Joss Happy, person panel member tonight. And I'm really envious of him. Well, one, it's really warm here, but he's in a place I've always wanted to be. Ever since we talked last year with Don and Mike, I've wanted to go there. So maybe this summer I'm in Ottawa, and maybe hopefully I can make my way down. And that would be so much fun. Yeah. Let's start our roundtable introductions, our names, our other platform handles. We'll start with special guest Don, then we'll hit Mike, and then we're going alphabetically, Dave, Joss, Rich, and then back to me. And so what's in your glasses tonight, gentlemen? What's your name?
Well, I'm going to be drinking our rye.
Good
It's
choice.
the Cask 3, which is 3.5 years old, 45%. And it's done in a recharred American white oak barrel from a winery.
And which winery?
That I couldn't tell you anymore.
Okay.
Because the barrel's back in the rack with something else in it, and I can't get access to it. So
That's okay.
But it was from California.
Beautiful. All right. Mike.
Hi, everyone. Mike from Last Straw, Don, one of Don's co-founders, and I am drinking. I'm also drinking rye, but I'm drinking Cask 2 rye because I haven't been to the distillery proper in a while, so I get shipped small bottles of samples, and I already drank all the corn and the Cask 3 rye. So I'm back on the Cask 2 until the full size bottles come out.
That's right, and that's what's left. And you won an award with that one anyway. So we're showing off the medal with the Cask 2, right? And that was which award was that?
Canadian Awards. Our Cask Strength Rye won Best New Whiskey in Canada. And the 43% expression of it won a bronze medal. And our Scorn, which I may dip into later, our sprouted corn, single malt corn whiskey, won best corn whiskey in Canada. So we were as surprised as you were.
I'm surprised. It's fantastic. I think you should have more faith in your stuff there, Mike. More faith in Dawn. All right, Dave, you're up.
Hey, everybody. It's Yukon Dave coming from his basement. And I'm not exactly sure which version of the Last Straw rye I have. I just picked it up about 25 minutes ago from Dolph's house. So I haven't even got into it yet. So give me a chance. But go ahead. Yeah.
You'll be the perfect person to tell us what you think if you haven't had anything to have before. So you're not going to be influenced whatsoever.
First drink of the day.
You're there at the distillery, and they always taste better at the distillery, I think. So you're going to love it.
Hey, everybody. I'm Joss. I've run a whiskey society or dram society of Toronto out here in Ontario, Toronto, Ontario. We're actually up in the Vaughan right now, just north of the city. And you can see behind me here some beautiful looking pieces of equipment where all the magic happens, and really excited to get into some of these whiskeys. They look absolutely delicious.
I am envious. I am. Rich, you're up.
Yeah, hi, I'm Richard. I run the We Rock Whiskey Club out here on Salt Spring Island and the west coast of BC. Thrilled to be here. I've already sampled these a couple of nights ago as I poured a whole bunch out for my club members that hopefully they're on tonight. If you are, hey everybody, good to see y'all and looking forward to this tasting. So let's bring it on.
Bring it on. And we're back. And then there's me, and I'm drinking everything that I can get my hands on, really, and anything back here that strikes my fancy. Let's give everyone a little bit of context, because last year, early August, Don and Mike were kind enough to come onto the show. It was a fantastic 2.5 hours. We learned tons from both of you, and we also learned that Blair, it was his anniversary, so we kind of forsook his anniversary to come on the air with us, and he's not back on the air with us tonight, although it would have been kind of fun, especially if we missed something else like a child's birthday or something like that. It'd be kind of cool. And so what's happening tonight? A lot of our questions are going to stem from the questions that we asked last year and some supplementary questions that I should have asked last year and new stuff that's come up. So let's jump right into it. And I'm going to say Don and Mike, and whoever wants to answer, jump in, but I'm always going to say Don and Mike. So Don and Mike, your description the last time of your jump to distilling was pretty significant. So actually, this is Don. Sorry, Mike. You started off making wine with your father, and by 2014 you're distilling. So boom, you're doing it.
So when I say made wine with my father forced me at age 9-10 years old to crank the press.
That's perfect. You learned something, though.
I did learn something. I learned I hated making wine and wanted to go play hockey. So I think the last time he made wine, I may have been 11 or 12 years old, and I never really did much with it or anything after that until we got licensed to be distillers. I didn't even brew beer at home.
That's a huge jump, buddy.
It is.
Okay,
it is.
So give us some points of reference between hating making wine with your papa. Hopefully you didn't know that and he thought you just loved it. And then
he knew. I told him. Yeah, he knew.
Okay. I'm on it. Let me go, Dad, please. And ... What happened that's significant between those two times?
Really, the only significance was I knew John Graham from Church Key Brewery because I grew up in King City, and so did he, and his sister was in my class. So I got to know the Graham family, and then John went off and started Church Key Brewery in Campbellford, and I would always watch him online, see what they were doing. Every time I could get his beer, I'd buy it, and I just thought, wouldn't that be great to make an alcohol for a living? To me, it wouldn't seem like work. Boy, was I wrong, but it's work. But I just kept doing that. And when I looked at becoming a brewer, I realized, well, A, there's so many breweries. Why would I do that? And B, I'm drinking a lot of whiskey now. I wonder how many distilleries there are. So that's when I went down my rabbit hole and came out the other end, starting a distillery with Mike and Anna.
And Annie, his
and
wife.
Anna, my wife.
I have to add some stuff in. Yeah, his wife. Let's be very specific.
Yeah.
All right. And you started with the iStill. And could you tell us something about the iStill? Because last time you said that, and that you couldn't use it. You had bought the still, you couldn't use it.
Yeah.
And that they did take it back, which was fantastic. But what kind of still is it? And
so it's basically just a computer automated still with a packed column. It'll work in a pot still mode. It'll work in a 95% ethanol mode to make vodkas or high proof spirits. And the beauty of it is it does all the cuts for you. They're all based on an algorithm and temperatures. And basically you set your still up, you tell it to go, you walk away, and it beeps when it's done. And
nice.
That was going to be great for us because our first location was in a town called Hillsburg, which is at least an hour and 10-minute drive for me on a good day. And we figured, okay, if we had the automation, my wife's uncle, her uncle was there. He'd be able to, monitor things and not have to be too concerned about it if I couldn't stay. And that's kind of the reason I think we went with that in the beginning, was just because of the convenience factor. And we couldn't use it because the Electrical Safety Authority wouldn't accept it in Canada without going through certification and a bunch of changes. So,
but you now have the Genio. It's Genio, right? Which is from the same company.
Yeah, the iStill was manufactured by the gentleman that makes Genio, and he's the actual inventor of it. Okay. So there are now quite a few Genios in Canada. they can be certified by ESA. They're approved. I've known several distilleries to get them. And in fact, I've got one sitting in our place right now, a 500 liter, which is right behind Joss.
Oh, on his left or right?
That one he's pointing to, that large one. And that's actually owned by the second licensed distillery in this facility, the Durham Distillery.
And we are going to talk about Durham as well, because I saw a recent post come up about them finally leaving and finding what's there. So, and did you name your stills? I thought we had to.
So we did.
Okay.
So the one on the extreme left of Joss is where you see it's got a bit of a black pipe underneath the condenser. Yep. That's called Frankenstill.
Frankenstill. Excellent.
Frankenstill. So that's a combination of our original mash tun stripping still with the column from our very first operational still. And we melded it all together to do a specific contract, and it never came apart.
Okay. And what do you make in there? Is there specifically? Because I'm guessing you have different things and different stills you focus on, right?
So the still that used to sit where the ice stills or the Genio sits now, that was our spirit still, and the original version of Frankenstill was our stripping still. So it would strip up to about 40%. And then we would move everything over to what we ended up calling Phoenix, because it rose from the dead during the pandemic, and we bought a column for it and
nice
started that up. So we used to do the spirit in that, but now we pretty much do everything in Frankenstill for now.
Okay.
And there's a couple of contracts we do that need some high proof stuff. So Chris allows us to use his Genio. So we've been using that in the last week, actually.
And was that more the hand sanitizer stuff as well when you're going full tilt?
No, we have a contract with a large beverage company, their R&D department. So we do some work for them. And when they want it quick. So we just finished 6 days of 24 hours.
Wow. Woo. That's a lot of work. And how much work is your son putting into that? Because he was getting further and further into the biz. And can we call him your master distiller? Is he your head distiller? Or is that still you?
I would say head distiller. I have a really good belief that you're only a master distiller when a true master tells you are. Okay. And so no one's told me I'm one. So
you're waiting telling him
he's one. So he does a lot of the work here. He takes the nights on because he's younger. So he was coming in at about 5-6 o'clock at night and working right through till about 10 in the morning. We'd overlap. I come in and start at about 6 in the morning or 5:30, and we'd overlap to about 9 or so. And then I'd overlap with him in the night the next day and just make sure everybody's good, everything's clean, everything's ready to go, and get the contract done.
Good. Mike, did you ever step into the distilling portion at any point?
In the early days, it was sort of very, very much all hands on deck. But as the business has grown, it's frankly, Don and Brandon are better at it. When we're all sort of mucking around and trying to figure things out, I think there was sort of less precision required. But once you have a product and people expect certain things out of a product, they also, one of the things that they expect is a consistency from batch to batch. And like with anything, the more people you have doing something, the less consistent it tends to be. So there's still once the sort of pandemic lifts, and we've got a little bit more space to mess around with project stuff. I'd still like to do a batch of rye every year. Just as
nice,
sort of my own side hustle, to stay in touch with what's involved in it. But it's really for since about the 6 month point, Brandon basically told me I wasn't allowed to touch anything anymore.
Brandon, buddy. Well, you know what? If I don't want to talk for Joss, Richard, and Dave, but if I ever had a chance to distill on a large still, I think I'd be jumping in there whenever I wanted to, especially if I'm maybe part owner and I have a little bit of leeway and you can twist some arms and just send Brandon away for a couple days or something. I don't know. He's got to have something he could do. Push.
Well,
how about you, gentlemen? Have you guys ever wanted to? Dave, have you ever wanted to? Have you had the chance at two brewers?
They don't let me touch anything with knobs or buttons.
Okay.
But they always need people to shovel spent grain. So,
Oh,
boy, I'm sure you guys could do that.
okay. I'm going to Douglas 2 Mondays from now, and I think Steve Lee's going to have me shoveling some stuff too. So we'll see when that happens. Joss, have you had a chance to play back there at all? Have they let you out of their site?
You know what? I am very tempted, Dolph. But one of the things I was talking about, Don, before we jumped on here, was they actually have and obviously Don can speak more to this, but if you go right on their website, they have this whole section where they will work with you if you want to try to distill something. They've got also some sort of a cask aging program as well. If you wanted to own your own cask or jump in with a couple of buddies, and it's right here in Toronto, so it's a very, very cool idea for a Father's Day gift, or if you ever wanted to play distiller for a day. I don't know how much freedom or leeway that goes, but I'm sure Don could probably or Mike could speak to that a little bit more. But I just thought that was a really cool, unique section. I haven't really seen that at any other distillery, to be honest.
Thank you for mentioning that. It's fantastic. But have you booked your time yet? It's like your tea time.
I'm definitely tempted.
Okay. All right. Maybe. And Richard, do you ever have the chance?
I've never had the chance to do any distilling. No. I've been to a couple of distilleries. I don't think anybody really wants people just kind of randomly playing with it when they have a craft distillery in case something goes wrong. I don't know. Maybe Mike and Don can help us out and let us know if that's true.
What's it like, gentlemen?
So you can be as involved or as uninvolved. Some people like to simply say, okay, I want a cask of Irish whiskey style single malt, and this is the barrel that I want, and all this sort of thing. Okay, you guys do all the work, and I'll come and sort of maybe get my hands dirty and some people want to do the full spectrum. So one of the whiskeys we have that we're selling out of our bottle shop right now, I think we got a few bottles of it left, is called a Whiskey in the Six, and it's a bourbon style whiskey. And Rob from Whiskey in the Six YouTube channel and Instagram fame wanted to put together a whiskey in his own style. And correct me if I'm wrong, Don, but he came in and did everything alongside us. We're there to guide the use of the equipment and everything like that, and help to understand when to make cuts and those sorts of things. But so he was on the other extreme of being hands-on, right down to the brand. He wanted his name on it, and he wanted it to go out there and to be an expression of his tastes in whiskey. So
yeah, he was a teacher, I think, right? So
yeah, he was involved in choosing the mash when the grains got in. I know he came by. He was there for the first mashing, helped pour some grains in. I forced him to, and then he was there for the distilling just to see what the strip was like, and that. And once, because we have not the biggest equipment in the world, it takes quite a few runs to get a barrel ready. So he was pretty much there for the first run, and then beyond that, it was pretty much just, your barrel pulls up, let's go. That's about it. We've had another couple people that came in. It's usually, you get the first mash done and you get the first distill done, and you realize, yeah, it's work. Okay, do the rest and call me when it's done.
Okay, I got my hands dirty a bit, and done. No, okay. And let's look at this, because you sell that at your place. That's a display we bought from Portugal. Okay. And I was hoping that you would take the course and then you would just sell them that, and then they would come back after a while and say, I've taught you how to distill, and then come back and just show me your stuff.
We do not promote illegal behavior.
No. Well, they could be distilling perfume. Okay, thank you. Let's get off this subject. No one's in trouble here tonight. All right. So last time we talked as well, we talked about the political legal roadblocks that you had to fight through to get operational. And this time I'd like to know about your progression that you went through with the spirit store. So Actually, before I do that, because I want people to get an idea where you are. So that's where you are. So Toronto, we're northwest of Toronto, and there's the entryway. That's what we look like. Beautiful place. And here's the stores. So again, these are the bars and restaurants around you. So your website states that these are the people that serve your spirits. How hard was it for you to break into trendy Toronto sites? Because Dom, I'm guessing you took the lead talking to
Exactly. It was him.
Mike did.
Yeah.
Mike took the lead.
Mike took the lead.
Dom was busy distilling.
Good. So you went there and you're talking to the owners, to the bartenders, you're pouring them drinks, you're trying to get them on board. I'm just wondering what the process is at startup.
It's making a product is one thing, selling a product is another thing. And, we've been able to figure out the making of the product on our own, but, we had sales agents basically, and most liquor companies do, where there's a company that is already selling into bars and restaurants. So we were working with a brewery actually, and you can sort of see the spread in the downtown Toronto area that happens to be the territory of one particular rep who really enjoyed the last straw sales aspect of it, because it's a nice add-on when you're going in and you're selling the beer already. So there's sort of pre-existing relationships. The cold call is very difficult, because at least in Ontario, the craft part of the market makes up about 0.4 to 0.6% of the market, and the other 99.4, 99.6% of the market is the big three foreign spirits conglomerates, and they have that bar and restaurant market locked down. And it is illegal to incentivize anybody to carry your product, but they're getting it somewhere. And when we'd go in and say, okay, well, here's our product. Well, we really like these. So what kind of discount do we get? We buy 10 bottles. How many bottles do we get for free? And our sort of view on that is, okay, well, if I bring 6 people into your restaurant, how many of us get to eat for free? So we'd explain the terrible margins, because it's a sale. Even when we do all the work to make the sale, and we deliver directly to the bar or the restaurant, the government still takes 3/4 out of every dollar.
Yeah.
So a $40 bottle of gin, our gross on that is $10. Net on that is maybe a couple of bucks, because we got to pay for all the product, all the overhead, got to pay the agent's fees. So, a couple bucks, if we're giving away 1 bottle of gin, we're losing $30 by selling a case of liquor. So, we'd sort of explain that math to them, and some of them would say, okay, yeah, we want to support. So we found our most traction with, either places where there's already some sort of relationship, a business relationship exists. I'm a small business lawyer, so I have some bar and restaurant clients who of course I do some tied selling, and I live downtown Toronto as well. So my partner Kayla and I go out. Have dinner somewhere, and while we're there, like, oh, what sort of local spirits do you have? Oh, you just have Dillon's. Okay, well, how about this? And
pull it out of your briefcase. It's like,
I'm supporting you. Time for let's keep this virtuous circle going. So some places get it more than others. We basically learn pretty quickly. Don't even bother with any sort of chain. They have centralized buying where they do their negotiating at that level. So it's mostly the cocktail bars, and it's sort of high-end restaurants that want something really unique. They have a cocktail program, and they have something pretty unique to put in the cocktail program, or bars that wanted their own private label spirits for their bar rail with their own logo on it.
So I got a question for Mike.
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Mike, so do you go in with last straw business card, or do you go in with your legal card?
Well, I always have both in the wallet, and the conversation. the last straw is the more challenging sell, but also the more interesting conversation. You know, when people tell people you're a lawyer and they go, "Oh, okay, well, you must be fun at parties."
Well,
Oh, I own a distillery as well. Oh,
You must be fun at parties.
tell me though, Mike, where does hitting up the restaurants and the bars fit in the spectrum of your business plan? So when you were first starting out, did you think that was going to be a large portion, and did it turn out the way you thought? I'm just wondering, because some people are thinking that, and in BC and Alberta, a lot of them, it's farmers markets and it's the smaller cell, and they're kind of building up. I'm wondering where that sat for you guys.
We didn't even have that in the beginning.
We thought it was going to be big.
Okay.
It's certainly a much smaller part of our business, you know, because it is a very difficult market to crack, especially in Toronto, because everybody wants to be, you know, the places we want to be in, everybody wants to be in them.
Right.
But it's, the direct sales are really a much bigger piece, I think, that we'd anticipated.
Right.
We'd sort of pictured the traditional, LCBO and bars and restaurants, and you know, sort of support that with bottle shop sales, but it's very much the other way around.
And Don, you thought the same thing, right? You guys were all, this was the business plan that you and your wife and Mike put together. You were thinking it's all going to be restaurants, bars, LCBO, and maybe other people coming in.
Well, to be fair, I think when we started, you weren't even allowed to sell to a bar or restaurant.
Ooh.
It had to go through the LCBO when we first started, like when we incorporated. So I think when I made the business plan, when I made the business plan, when I found a business plan online, changed it to Last Straw and handed it to Mike and said, "Is this good?" I think we went through it and fixed it all. I think at that point, we couldn't even do direct delivery. And to give you an example, we only just got Farmers Market in 2021.
Really?
Yeah, we just got them.
Okay. I thought that would have been part of your plan when you first started out, because your first business plan, I think for a year and a half, you were working on the precept that you were going to be a farm or farm to market, or you were going to sell there. So in my mind, I'm just assuming that's farmers market type of.
No, it was always going to be like retail store, but it would have made no sense in the farm we were on. You'd have to get lost to find us. So it was just way too far out on a really badly dealt with dirt road. So,
well, I think you made the right decision, right?
No, I think so. I don't think we'd have gotten to this point if we didn't do what we did.
Already, and Mike, you mentioned the LCBO, so here's the. That's not the LCBO one. It is the store.
That's the LCBO, yeah.
It's sorry, I had a bigger one as well that had the whole province. So we're sticking on that. I'm really interested in the process. How do you present yourself to a monolith like them? They're gigantic, and they control so much, and it feels like, I don't know, Godfather-ish. You have to kiss a ring and give someone some money or something. But you're the legal guy, so I'm gonna go to you, Mike. What do you have to do? Is it just tons of paperwork, or is it presentations as well?
It's paperwork, and you know, it's who you know. So all of our stuff in the LCBO is in through a craft distillers direct delivery program, which is something they added around the same time that. So the previous government added to support small distillers after the Toronto distillery lawsuit, and so basically the way the program works is you still have to go through the full listing process, but they're not allowed to say no to you. But
they can,
but they don't.
They do.
No.
Well, I can give you a list of people they said no to.
They probably wouldn't appreciate that.
No, probably not.
I don't want to be sued, Don. Stop it. Stop it.
So the no is you can't self-deliver. Is that what that no is, Don?
So no, the no was people will say, I want to put this product in through the craft system, which is the direct delivery to stores. And what they'll do is they'll say, depending on what you already have in, they'll say, oh, there's only so much space now. And part of the reason is they made the system for distillers, but now they let anybody in. You don't have to own a distillery anymore to get in. Somebody can come to me, have me make a vodka for them, brand it any way they want, get their own license for sales in Ontario, walk in and get in the system. So it went from, I don't know, 50 distilleries to maybe 150 people trying to get in. So
Yeah,
people won't appreciate this, but I think when you want to talk to the LCBO, best thing to do is bang your head against the wall 7 times and then talk to them, because it'll make sense.
Just numb things up a little bit. Okay. So I like what you said, though. You still have to know someone, Mike. And what type of person do you know? Is it just within the organization, someone that could possibly?
It certainly helps to know the buyers. So each category has, sort of a head buyer and then a department that works for them that do the taste test. Because we've worked with some producers, people that we're helping to bring their product to market, and before they've made anything, they already are in the LCBO for regular listing, not craft listing. Like the LCBO is going to buy their stuff and pick it up and warehouse it and force all the stores to sell it. So our agent is has been quite successful in launching spirits brands and everything like that, and we've sort of been banging our heads against the wall. I don't know if it's been 7 times yet, but it's been a lot of times. But just the margins are so bad that, and we've been, especially during the pandemic, so much more successful in our direct sales that we've sort of, we keep servicing the LCBO. When they put in orders, we'll fill them. But we've really we're really putting our efforts into our contract work and into our direct to consumer sales.
Nice.
So are you able to ship around the province then? Or is that still okay? That's not a gray area anymore.
Not since the pandemic. Like shipping through the province has never been a gray area. It's a bit of a gray area shipping across provincial boundaries.
Yeah.
But now in Ontario, Uber Eats and Skip the Dishes and all them, like the meal delivery services, are also allowed to deliver liquor, and that's they have the marketing power and the eyeballs on their website that we just don't have organically, and it's we're selling stuff like a real distillery now.
Nice. Joss, I think you had a question, buddy.
Oh yeah, you know what? And Dave kind of touched upon it there, and then Mike responded. But I guess just to summarize it quickly, is there any hope in the foreseeable future for craft distilleries to be able to export out of Ontario to SAQ, the ALGC, anything like that? I know that at the federal level, they basically said, "Okay, guys, go play," but all the provinces have been very slow to adopt that. For reasons. That capability to pass it down to you guys. Is there any light at the end of the tunnel for you for that?
Yeah, we can sell to all these different, we can sell in any province. We just have to sell through whatever the system is in place in that province. So if it's Alberta, it's I think the AGLC. We submitted some products in Newfoundland that didn't end up getting picked up, but you sort of have to go through the product submission systems for each province, and they are, when you're an outside, at that point we're the sort of foreign company coming in, and there's protected space in their market for their own craft producers. So it's certainly possible, but it's again having somebody in that place who knows that system and is able to help you navigate the product. It's one thing to get a listing, it's another thing to keep a listing. So can not only get you in, but can help you to meet understand what's required to meet the sales targets that you have to hit to keep your place on the shelf.
Thank you, kind sir.
Quick question.
Before your quick question, I want everyone to pick up the rye. I want to taste the rye. We haven't talked about the booze yet, and we're all business, and I know there's a lot of my part in there. It's me. I kept asking it, but I do want to try the rye right now, and I want the impressions. So Dave,
mine's gone.
You have a second one. Grab some of the second one that I gave you, and then tell us a bit of what you think. And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask
Well,
Josh.
I
and
can
Rich
tell you what I
they-
think right now.
All right.
I like it.
All right.
And I picked up a whole bunch of beef jerky on the way back from Jasper today, and I'm dying to try some of the spicy beef jerky with this because it's spicy, but it's really easy to drink, and it really leaves a nice what?
Wouldn't that work? I'm going.
Yeah, I don't know where I put it though. I'm
spicy.
looking around my basement. I don't know where it went. Like I had to rush in to sit down here. But yeah, I love the aftertaste on this. This just keeps giving and giving and giving, and I keep thinking of those cinnamon hearts, but toned down. But it's really nice down the middle of my tongue. So
Nice.
I'll
Thank
crack
you,
open
sir.
my other bottle.
You go get that other bottle, and yeah,
Is it-
might
my
as well.
other-
You're not
yeah,
going to make the
bottle.
cocktail anyway, so you might as well drink it.
Oh
straight.
shit, no.
Joss, what are you thinking?
I have Dave's problem. I really liked it, but I was talking.
You're at the right spot, though, right?
I am. It's very easy to get more, or we can always make more if necessary. But Don's running in here. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Yeah, I will always.
Oh,
have
no.
to pick more. Well, there we go. Very generous for.
No.
He's Don is a gentleman. I was just going to say we were. If I can get it across camera, I will try. Again, rye is an interesting beast because if you go too heavy on this, if you make it too rye, then you're really appealing to the rye nut. But you're going to struggle to get people who are maybe new to rye to really buy into the product. And if you kind of, forego all that rye characteristic spice at the end, or anywhere, anyways, in the palate, you're going to probably lose people to actually really enjoy that particular aspect of rye. So the reason I love this one is you have that really nice fruit forward on the nose and the beginning of the palate, but you have that nice medium spice, I guess I would say, at the end. So it kind of sits somewhere right in the middle there. So I think you could really appeal to both crowds.
Excellent. Richard, what else do you get on the nose, buddy?
I get sort of a dustiness, which I like. It's not a disparaging comment at all. A lot of those floral notes that I often find in rye, as well as that typical spice, it just seems really well balanced between those three notes to me.
Okay.
Again, rye isn't something that I've had a lot of experience with, but I'm really enjoying the ryes that some of my We Rock members are applying me with, and this one is also really good. I'd love to see this kicked up to, as we were talking before the show, 64. I'm looking forward to the corn whiskey as well, but I'd love to see this sort of at around 57, 59, 60% and see what that's like. Have you got one there? Is that
65.8.
That's kind of close to my wheelhouse. I like that.
I think. All right, so I'll put this in your care package, and that'll go there as well.
Done.
You've already got a sizable one already, but that's okay. It's getting bigger and bigger.
It is dwindling though, so
Oh well.
Can I ask a
bottle?
quick question? Do you have a care package going to Richard? Who's getting a care package?
Richard.
So I've got something for him.
Excellent. We'll do that. And
Don't send it until I get over there.
Okay.
Thanks,
and
Dave.
for everyone else, I'm thinking about on the palate. Is it more caramel or butterscotch? It's not honey, and I go for 4. I either do the honey, the sugar, like confectioner's sugar, butterscotch, or caramel. And I think this is more caramel-like.
Caramel.
Mike and Don, what are you guys thinking? You think the caramel too?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's got like almost like a cooked brown sugar, which is caramel, right? You add some butter, and then stir it around.
And I get the floral, but the one thing I don't get, which we have some people that hate rye in our circles here in Edmonton, and it's always the white pepper. They talk about the white pepper that they hate so much. I'm not tasting any peppery notes at the end. I know it's spicy, but not peppery.
So do we ask the question on, and I'm trying to understand rye here. So percentage of rye, is it malted or unmalted?
This one's unmalted. It's 100% rye. It's all
100%.
grown in Ontario. Very close to not very close. Within what, Mike, 50, 60 kilometers of the distillery, I think.
Still good. Yeah.
It's all milled by the miller we get that does our work. He usually sources all this stuff and tries to source from all the local farmers he knows. So I could probably call him, give him the dates, and he point to the field this came from. Like,
Nice.
it's that cool. And this has a twin. There's another cast that was done at the same time, and this one was done. I think it was December 1st, and the second one was done December 2nd on Brandon's birthday. So we wrote "Happy Birthday, Brandon" on the cask. And when I was looking at the cask to pull, I thought I would leave his down if we're ever going to go long on a rye. We could do that, but if we decide not to go long on a rye, I would think that I'd like to see this at a cask strength too. So there may be, depending how this one goes, there might be a twin. We'll have to get samples back and forth to Mike and I, and we'll figure it out.
Nice. And this is a 3.5-year-old.
Yep.
And it's going well. I like more wood. I like wood notes, so I like things in wood longer. So if it was my cask and I was your son, I'd be asking for that to be in there for like 5 years plus, if I'm your son. So Brandon, if you're watching, maybe. And at cask strength. So cask strength and more time in wood, which takes away a little bit from the spicy notes, but that's okay. And you guys were happy with this at 3.5?
I was happy with it, and to me, I think it was a great segue from cask 2. I think cask 1, we were happy with it because you fall in love with your first cask. And I remember what we went through to make that cask. That was literally mashed by hand. So cask 2, I thought was a fair bit stronger than cask 1 as far as boldness, flavors. I think we started to get our legs on cask 2, and I think by cask 3, I think we've nailed this one. The mashing and fermentation went really well, and I can remember it clearly when I did it. And as Joss will see, like I showed him, we don't have temperature control fermentation. So if we get a bad heat wave, we're screwed. We have to find a way around it. And fortunately, this fermentation went really well.
Nice.
So I'm very pleased with this one. I think it's more balanced, and it's funny because Richard said he gets a dusty note, and I was trying to figure what is that note I'm getting, and as soon as he said a dusty note, that came to light. This is what I get too. But I do love the balance of this one.
Sort of like grain dust.
Yeah.
Like you're walking by a grain elevator or something like that, and it just like smells bready almost.
I'm thinking like old book, like an old book. That's what I was thinking when he said it, because that's the smell I get. So like your books that you have at home, you haven't cracked them for a while. That's what I think of when I smell dusty. So Richard, which one, grain or book?
Sorry, grain or book?
Like
well, for me,
an old book.
Yeah, for me, I'm a bit of an English major kind of guy, so for me, it's more of a book. I didn't grow up on a farm or near grain, so I'm going book.
All right, we're both teachers, Mike, so we kind of band together a little bit with those. I'm sorry. And Whiskey in the Six is a teacher too, so we get around. We tend to drink a lot, I guess.
What is it about teachers and drinking?
I don't know. It's the end of the year. It's fantastic.
Maybe that's a new market segment for you guys. You can show up after the parent-teacher interviews with your product.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How'd it go?
Little ones.
Little ones. Something to put in their little pocket as no one's looking. That's great. I love it.
So,
thank you, gentlemen. Dave, you're trying to say something.
Yeah, quick question for Don. So you talked about your no temperature control on distilling. So are you distilling all year round, or are you distilling in different parts of the year? Like, do you distill more in the fall and the winter than you do in the summer?
We don't base it on seasons. We base it on the bank account. So how much money we have to buy grain is going to determine when we mash and when we ferment. So if it's middle of summer, I'll just take every precaution I can to make sure I can get some sort of control. You know, certain spots of like we're not a very big distillery, but if we keep the doors closed in the really hot times, it can keep the temperature down a bit, so that helps. I like to ferment my rums in the summer if I can, because I like a little more temperature in the rum fermentation. I found with the blackstrap. So if I did get all the choices I'd do all that work, the rum work in the summer, and I do the whiskey work in the winter.
Okay.
but I plan one day to get temperature control, so I don't have to be worried about it.
So temperature control on your fermentation.
Yes.
That'll be a good day,
Yeah.
won't it, Mike?
Yeah. Well, beer was never made in the summer because you couldn't control the fermentation; would just go crazy,
Yeah.
like in the old days.
Which, it's an agricultural
Which one's
product.
the last one you worked on, Mike?
Say again?
Okay. Sorry, I was wondering what the last batch of rye was that you actually worked on.
I think it would have been Cask 2. So the Canada's best new whiskey.
They was going to say that no matter what.
The best whiskey that ever came out of this place was mine. So
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. All right, gentlemen, question for you both. So you're now established in the community and throughout the province as the pitchers, like we showed before, the LCBO. You have a loyal following, and you can see that on Instagram and Facebook. People are there. You're in a rhythm. And are you where you thought you would be now? So are you at, if you projected where you were when you opened, are you happy with where you are right now?
I would say I am happy where we are now. I'm also shocked where we are now. I'm shocked in the way that like the night that the Whiskey Awards happened, I went to bed.
Yep.
I was dead asleep.
Okay.
And my phone rings at whatever time it ended, and it's Mike, and Mike never calls me at night. So I reach over, grab the phone, I go, "What's going on?" He goes, "Did you see the Whiskey Awards?" I go, "No, I'm sleeping." He goes, "Well, do you want the good news or the better news?" So then he told me what we won, and he started with the bronze, and then he went to the rye, and then he went to the scorn, and then I got up and I turned to my wife. I said, "Did you we just won all these awards?" She goes, "Yeah, everybody's talking about it online." She was reading and watching her phone, and I was sleeping. And she goes, I said, "Why didn't you wake me?" She goes, "You were sleeping so peacefully." So,
Oh, that's really nice of her. That's great.
but I was in shock, to be honest. And I think I'm in shock because you always want to get, like, that's you aspire to. One day I'd love to have a best in class, like a double gold or best in class or whatever, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and especially whiskey. I thought it would have been a single malt we would have done, but we are really, really, really shit at single malt. It's just terrible. Like I've got some undrinkable stuff 5.5 years old, and I just keep praying it becomes something one day. We have done some decent single malt since then, but nothing I'd be happy to release. And especially with the way the rye and the corn's doing now, if we come out with a single malt, it better be out of that par.
Yeah.
Get some sherry barrels.
Yeah. I saw the McAllen shirt, and that's the first thing I thought.
Or ice wine, or
yeah.
No, good on you for not putting it out until you were ready for it. I think that's fantastic. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And Mike would agree. We've done barrel pulls, and there's one I thought was close, and he said no. And then I kept tasting it, and I thought, Mike doesn't know what he's talking about. And then Mike was right. No, we can't put this out. So,
now,
and that's the problem.
A couple times. You've mentioned the scorn, which is sprouted corn, so it's malted corn, and which is really cool. And we did this last year. We had to, because Davin said we had to have this. Davin loved it, right? So this was out there, and it's fantastic. And I've given it mostly away. So how is this different, please, from, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second, if you can keep this in mind, the difference between the scorn and this whiskey, the corn whiskey that we have in our glasses. So I just wanted to help people out with that too. But we're not there yet, so keep that in mind. I just want to put that in your wheelhouse, because I want to ask this question, because I was going to ask you, have you ever considered returning to your original plan, becoming a farming distilling unit, grain to glass type thing? But this makes it seem like you've kind of given up that dream or changed your dream. And how's it progressing? Because you just said it's not single malt, and it's good to know what you're good at. And it's the rye and corn, which is kind of carrying you right now. Mm-hmm. Do you really want to make the malted barley work? Do you really want to have the single malts, or is it just maybe one day you're not pushing it just in case?
I'd like to have them work. I think there's not necessarily a cachet to it, but I think it's always good to have a single malt, to be good at a single malt. Like I want to be good at everything I make. I know that's never going to happen, but I think when I first wanted to do this, I was drinking a lot of Scotch, and that drove me to want to do a really good single malt. I want to do our expression of one, but it's got to be something on par with the rye and the corn, and that's my biggest fear. Is I'm not there. Now, the one cask we did do for a gentleman that was triple distilled is one of the best spirits I've ever done. It's really good, and it's probably one I'll never drink because he got the cask done for his wake, so I may not even be around when it gets pulled.
Okay.
And it could be 25 years from now, so it'll be Brandon dealing with it, hopefully.
But
That's a fantastic idea, though.
Yeah, it is.
The way
yeah.
Yep.
And it's a funny time to ask about the sort of the farm.
I don't know if I'm the one
distillery
cutting out or other people are cutting out, but let's taste the corn. Let's taste this one right here, the cask strength corn whiskey, and compare that to the Scorn for me, Don, in a minute after all their comments, and see if it's kind of the same or completely off. Dave, did you finish that one too? No.
Click on the mute button there. It turns me off, but it won't let me go on, so I don't know what that means. No, I haven't tried this yet. I've just been nosing a little bit.
All right. All right. You know what? Let's just get that out, shall we? Can you give me? I don't want to go on memory. I'm actually gonna have them side by side.
I'll join you in that.
Already.
I unfortunately can't because I don't have any.
Okay, so you're gonna have to trust Mike and I on that. But Dave, Joss, and Richard, let's go some notes. What do you guys get?
Well, I do pick up the alcohol. That kind of caught me right off. But as I drink it, I don't get the alcohol. I had my eyedropper ready, but I don't think I'm going to use it.
Okay.
And it's fun to see it go from beginning to end. And in the middle there, I'm getting some kind of. I'm going to have to drink more of it. Find out what I'm talking about.
Well, I gave you 2 ounces, so that's enough for a little bit. That's okay. Joss, how about you?
I mean, I don't know that if this is just kind of subliminal because I'm thinking of corn and I'm thinking of popcorn and I'm thinking butter goes great on popcorn, but I'm definitely getting a little bit of butter notes on the nose. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but I tried this week before I came just to get a general idea. And, right on the label, it says cask strength. You sip it. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, yeah, this is probably low 50s ABV. And my eyes popped out of their head when I saw it was 64. So it definitely doesn't drink like a 64, and that's a compliment for sure because it's really nice. It's very smooth.
Well, you prepare yourself for it, right? You're thinking, oh, okay, it's going to be hot, and then it's not hot, and then
it doesn't have that boozy kind of young. You don't get a lot of those those alcohol kind of vapors when you're nosing it.
Okay.
I think that might be our moonshine touch too, right? Like we were putting out some high proof barrel aged moonshines pretty early, like at 4 months of age and 1 year of age at 46, 45%. And there's not a lot of sort of grain flavor to back up. It's primarily a white sugar, which makes a really clean distillate. So there's not a lot of margin for error. So I think it's sort of reflected in our cuts a bit. But moonshining.
Okay.
Boy, there's a nice toasty. When I blow in to take the alcohol off, I get just a lovely toasty smell that I really like. I was expecting this to be a little more like maybe a bourbon, but this is way different.
And Dave's new to bourbon as well. He didn't start bourbons until I think he introduced them to Eagle Rare was the first one I think he had last year with us. So. But he likes
drank
them.
a lot. Yeah, Well, I like them all. I'm trying to understand them all.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked some of the questions I asked, because I don't understand 100% rye, how it changes from distillery to distillery. I know what I like. So, I mean, this one I really like. The rye we had tonight was really nice.
Richard, the corn, what you thinking? We already talked about it a bit, but
Yeah, no, yeah, it's interesting that Dave made a comment that he doesn't see this as being any sort of likeness to bourbon. He poured this in a glass the other night and gave it to my wife, who really likes bourbon, and she nosed it, and she looked at me and smiled and went, "Bourbon." So, everybody has a different take on it. I'm not being critical, Dave.
I have an old nose.
Well, my wife's nose is a little bit old. Don't tell her I said that. Anybody out there? I'm really liking this. There's, as Joss was saying, that there's that butteriness. It's not just on the flavor, but also on the palate. It's got this creaminess to it. I love the heat of 64%. There's also a really deep meatiness to this particular whiskey. It balances out that the sweetness of the corn as well, which is really, really lovely. So, as I said before the show, this is like in my mind, the best corn whiskey that I've had from Canada. So I'm loving this. It's big, it's huge, it's sweet, it's decadent, it's got those savory notes as well. So it's really well constructed, and I'm loving it.
So I got a question for Don, because I put together the grain bill and I put together the barrels that our things started, and I kind of draw a conclusion, then I taste it and I well, okay, this isn't what I was thinking, but I look at bourbon as being very vanilla forward because it's in new barrels, and I don't get this on this.
Well, this is another recharred American white oak wine barrel.
Okay, it's another wine barrel. Okay,
it's another wine, but it's been milled down to get to fresh wood. Yeah, all the barrels that we do, the wine barrels, are milled down.
So do you get a milled? Like, you just buy them milled, or do you get somebody to do it for you?
No, well, there was a cooperage in Niagara that was doing it. Okay. It was called DRM Recoup, and he had a machine that would mill. It had a mill on the shape of barrels, so he could mill each one down while the barrel was still together. He would just take the ends off and mill them, and then put them back together, rechar them, put the top in, and then you'd end up with like a number 3, number 4 charred American white oak barrel.
Well, that's amazing, because I'm dying to find more information on remilled barrels, and this is the first time I've been able to talk to anybody.
Oh.
So I've heard about it. I just haven't talked to anybody that's actually done it.
So we find that there is a difference between the two. Like, if you take a new American white oak barrel, you're going to get those vanillas. You're going to get all those elements that you're used to, especially in the bourbons. Where this one might be confusing is some of those elements are missing in the barrel aging. Because you've gone in to the char so far, you've taken all the original char out, and they always say that the alcohol's already gotten in to the wood to that point, and it's extracted some elements already. So I look at these barrels as second use, even though they're recharred, because as the spirit's getting into the wood, it's not going to get those elements that were there before. So it just makes them more, I guess it just makes it like another style of whiskey. Really, at the end of the day, I
think it's a great, like, consumers like stories, and I think you start telling them about recharring. Well, they don't are re-milled. I find that fascinating.
Well, Dr. Swan's first one talked about it, and he's been to distillery to distillery, and Victoria, Caledonia, right outside of where Richard is, they do that tons, and we could have bought a cask from them, STR cask as well. But it does change the flavor. And Don, I'm glad you said that, because it's not a bourbon, and but there's so many elements to it. The mouth feels like it. You can tell the corn. And Joss, I'm there with you with the butter as well. There's so many elements that are close to it, but it's different. And Don, you're happy with how different it became? Is this what you wanted, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I was very happy. I pulled this at a year, and I knew that we were onto something.
Good.
I remember the spirit coming off the still. It was a really, really good spirit. I liked it. I did really tight cuts on it though. I wanted to make sure that no tails, heads were all out. And at a year, I knew it was going to be good. At 2 years, I was really, really pleased with it, because back then we used to have a barrel rack and it was at the end, so it was the easiest one to get to. So I would always, having a bad day, just pop a bung and pull something and have a better day. So, but yeah, I knew it was going to be good. And Mike and we debated on it a bit. Mike wanted to go down a little in the proof, and I was almost sold on that. And then,
are you talking about the scorn, or are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about the actual corn, the cast strength corn.
Because scorn is 49% too. It's not a lightweight.
The scorn's 49. No, it's not lightweight. It's a completely different spirit. The malted corn, the malting of corn just completely alters the spirit. If I was going to drink a white spirit, I would take the malted corn all day, all night over the corn. Yeah. As an aged spirit, I love them both. But I think the guy who sold me on leaving it cast strength was Rob from Whiskey in the Six. He came by and he tried it on a few levels and said cast strength. So I know he's a cast strength guy, but
yeah. In Ontario, do you, as the alcohol level climbs, is there different tax structures? Like, does the tax increase as the alcohol goes up?
No, not for general spirits. No.
Yeah, so when we go over 60% in Alberta, then it jumps up again.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. So if you're coming to Alberta,
I still want to talk about this when we come back in the after dram. We hit the hour. I still want to talk about it a little bit because Mike's got both of them. So I want to talk to Mike a little bit about the difference as well. Don hit on it a little bit, but I think it's a worthy conversation to continue. Don and Mike, any last comments before we wrap this up and go on to the after jam?
Well, I can just say that both these have just gone live tonight on our website, and they're for sale. $45 for the rye, $65 for the corn.
Perfect. Mike,
for the
just like to say that that both of those whiskeys have just gone live on our website. $45 for the rye, $65 for the corn, and get some for your friends.
It's after Father's Day, but if you didn't get to Father's Day, you might want to buy both of them to make up for it, you rotten son. That's what you got to do.
Christmas isn't that far away. Yeah.
Whiskey Brothers, Sisters, that's the 18th edition of the Canadian Whisky Journey. We're moving our conversation from this more formalized to a more relaxed, even more relaxed conversation. Owner distiller Don and Mike, thank you. It was fantastic. And really, what better activity are you going to do tonight than watch us drink alcohol and talk to good people? I don't think there's anything better out there. We'll be back in 5, maybe 10 minutes because I have to try to make 3 cocktails, and that might be a little bit difficult. If you don't want to miss a minute of this in the future, you're going to click on like and subscribe, and we're going to see you all soon. So cheers, gentlemen. Let's see you in a couple minutes.